Hello and welcome to Talking Royals. I'm Charlene White, and as ever, I'm joined by Royal Editor Chris Shipp and Royal Producer Lizzie Robinson, and we bring you all the latest stories from the Palace and beyond. Before we get to anything else, it's your birthday today, Chris.
Happy birthday.
That's very kind. Thank you very much.
Birthday.
We don't talk about ages anymore, so we just gloss over that.
We do, but you've had a fresh trim. Is that a birthday trim?
And it was so I could eat the cake and not feel quite so heavy. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't.
Because you don't have as much hair.
I'm not sure I've
Oh, no, also because it gets rid of the grey bits on the side. Shorter hair, less grey.
I'm not sure getting rid of the grey is like a thing.
Anyway,
we can still see it.
Should we talk about important royalty?
Yeah, we're going to talk about.
Anyway,
but wanted to make sure that everyone knew it was your
Thank
birthday.
Yes.
But we've had a bit of a surprise today, haven't we? So we knew that Prince William was going to be visiting Southport today, but then it also turned out to be Kate's first official engagement since the end of the year.
Well, yes, it's interesting how you look at this. Firstly, yes, we knew of a trip, but we weren't allowed to talk about it. But yes, we did think it was only William. And then we were told, actually, the Princess of Wales has decided to join him. How do we talk about it? Is it her first public engagement? Well, kind of, because, yes, she did Trooping the Colour earlier in the summer, and she did Wimbledon. But in terms of a royal engagement meeting members of the public, she hasn't done one of those this year because of her operation and then her cancer diagnosis. So to that end, you could say, yes, her first public engagement of the entire year, or at the very least, the first time that she's been able to be out in public since she announced in that video a few weeks back that her chemotherapy treatment had ended.
Yeah, so we had the very personal and intimate video in which she said that preventative chemotherapy treatment that she'd been having, that course had ended. And at that time, we were told that she was going to be making a gradual return to public duties. And we've seen her carry out some official meetings that have appeared in the court circular, those focusing on her early years work and also her Christmas Carol service that will be later this year. But this is her first public engagement.
How does she seem?
She looked really well, I thought. She, and I think in all of her recent appearances, and, we'll talk about some of the others that we've seen recently, she has looked really well. And we're told that she wanted to join William on this engagement to let the people of Southport know they haven't been forgotten. Yeah. And if anyone does need reminded, and Southport was the place where there was that knife attack where 3 very young girls lost their lives at that Taylor Swift-themed holiday club that they were at. And then there was the violence that not just erupted in Southport, but in many parts of the country afterwards. And both William and Kate wanted to go and see not just the families of the victims, and they met them privately, no cameras behind closed doors, but they also wanted to meet the first responders, emergency services, whatever word we use for them now. And because, we must remember that the kind of the mental toll that it must take on them to have to deal with an incident of this nature, and then 2 days later they were, having bricks and lots of other things thrown at them in that disorder. So, they wanted to do that, and of course for William that feeds into the whole mental health picture as well.
Yeah, the Prince and Princess of Wales, shortly after that attack in July, they put out a personal message on social media saying that their love, thoughts and prayers were with those that had been affected, and they also included emergency responders in that message. And for them, it was really important to go and show the community of Southport that they were still thinking of them, that they still were supporting them. And I think for the Princess of Wales, she wanted to join William today to show her support and her compassion and her empathy.
God, I mean, they must have just hugely appreciated it because, people sort of think when cases are out of the headlines, obviously because they're active cases, that perhaps people have forgotten about their stories. So for them to go back and keep them in their thoughts and show that's a big deal for a lot of families, I can imagine.
Yeah, do you know, I was there when the King went there in August. I think he left it a few weeks because not only did he not want to get in the way of the investigation and the clear-up, but also because he wanted the emergency services to have some downtime as well. And obviously whenever King turns up somewhere, they've got to, they've got to be on not just their best behaviour, but they've got to provide the correct security for him. And just the moment that the King went into the square in front of the town hall where all the flowers are, and the thing that struck me with the balloons with the ages of the 3 victims, a 9 balloon, a 6 and a 7 balloon. And he just paused there, and there was a ripple of applause for him, but then just silence while they just took in what was it? I thought a really moving moment because that whole community was affected by what happened there.
Of course.
And I think you can sometimes overlook the impact that a visit like this will have. Oh, it's just the king. What difference can he make? Well, actually, quite a bit, because he made a special trip from Balmoral, where he was staying on his summer holidays. He was going down to London for some more cancer treatment, and he diverted to Southport. That meant a lot to those people that he did that and was able to talk to them and hear from them.
And it will make a huge difference having William and Kate be there as well. But actually, talking about the King, we had the news this week that he's going to pause his chemo treatment, his cancer treatment. He's had the okay from doctors to do that so that he can go on the royal tour that both of you will be accompanying him on.
We will. So the King, he is heading off to Australia. That kicks off. He arrives in Australia on the 18th of October. It's a 9-day trip all in, probably about 11 days if you take into account the travel to get to and from the other side of the world. And he has had the okay, the green light from doctors that during his time away, he can pause the treatment. You know, we've been told that things are going in a positive trajectory. So I think, you know, this very much fits with that messaging that they are allowing him to go and that they feel confident that they can allow him to pause that treatment.
But there's been a lot of changes with what would normally happen on a royal tour in order that he doesn't take on too much work. He obviously has historically been a workaholic, but that's just not possible this time round, is it?
Kind of talk to anyone in the palace about the king and his ability to work and burn the midnight candle while he's doing papers and all the rest of it. So yes, in terms of a traditional royal tour, a lot of it's actually been swept out. Well, the first thing that was swept out was New Zealand, because they said, look, that would be too much if you went there. So the doctors drew the line there. And if you are going to do Australia and take in this Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit in Samoa, which, for example, Keir Starmer is also going to as the Prime Minister of one of those Commonwealth countries, if you're going to do those two things, we've got to treat this whole thing differently. So gone are the evening engagements, gone as the sort of like 18,000 engagements during the day. I exaggerate slightly, but only slightly, because he does like to pack all these things in. And gone as like travelling around Australia. So that, you know, there's no Western Australia, there's no Queensland, there's no Victoria. It is just Sydney and the capital, Canberra.
Right, okay.
So, you know, and normally there'd be like a reception in the evening or a dinner, or, you know, at the High Commission, they'd have an event for everybody. It's all gone. And that's to make sure that he's not going to overdo it. Because, you know, 76 years old, having cancer treatment and travelling to the other side of the world, I think most people would admit that's quite a big thing.
And presumably, people are understanding about that in Australia and in Samoa, and understand that actually the bells and whistles stuff that they're very used to having when there's a royal tour, you know, just can't possibly be done now because of his health.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the impact on the schedule, and yes, you know, as Chris says, that is reflected in the schedule, but he's still incredibly busy, and he's still getting, you know, a lot of engagements in on issues that are really important to him. So I think, you know, they're managing the schedule quite carefully, but he is still doing a fair amount.
Yeah, you know what would be interesting also to see in Australia? We often talk about the Australian referendum of 1999 when they voted whether or not to keep the King, or the Queen as she then was, as the head of state. How alive is that debate in Australia at the moment? And I know that the UK Republican movement is going to go out to Australia. I know their own Republican movement will seize on this opportunity. It'll be interesting to sort of, again, maybe we'll talk about it when we're there, but to see what the temperature is in that debate. Because a lot of people get confused between the Commonwealth, 56 countries in the Commonwealth, and the realms, the Commonwealth realms, 14 realms, and the United Kingdom, where the King is still the head of state. He's the King of Australia, King of Canada, King of New Zealand, King of Papua New Guinea.
Yes.
And what is the appetite at the moment in Australia for changing that? Do you want to become a republic like Barbados did a few years ago, or do you actually like that link, having a British monarch on the other side of the world as your head of state? And I don't personally know where Australia is with that at the moment.
Well, you guys will be
We're
there,
going to find out. But this is why it's particularly significant. Not only is it a big, major overseas trip for him while he's still undergoing cancer treatment, but it is also his first visit as a monarch to a Commonwealth realm where he is also head of state. So this is an important trip for him.
Odd to think this, because we all think he's our king, but he's just as much Australia's king as he is ours. He's their head of state, he's our head of state, he's New Zealand's head of state. And it's kind of, you know, where are we in this new world on thinking about the British past and the empire and colonialism and things?
And that's something that Prince Charles is very open about when he talked King Charles even is very open about when he talks about these things, because he does have quite a connection with other countries in the Commonwealth, but also, you know, being head of state for all the British realms as well. So it'd be interesting.
We were in Barbados a couple of years ago when the flag came down on the end of the British, you know, rule there, if you like, and their own flag went up. And at that point, it was Prince Charles who was there representing his mother, but he went from being a future king of that country to just being a fairly important VIP. And then they had a president overnight. And, you know, that debate is going on in Jamaica, in Antigua, you know, in lots of other places as well.
As you say, it's a very interesting moment in history that we're in at the moment. So it will be genuinely interesting to see what people say to you when you guys fly over next week. But passion projects, in terms of passion projects, I'm not saying that the Royal Tour is at all, but these countries do mean a lot to the King. But one of the things that means a lot to Prince William is homelessness. And he's just done a documentary that's coming to ITV. Let's take a look.
So am I looking at you?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Where does your passion for this particular issue come from? Why this?
I think it's really important that we can try and change and tackle the narrative around homelessness. People live with it. We see it every day in our lives. That's something I want to challenge.
So is this the Prince sort of taking ownership of something that has meant a lot to him, and he really wants to drive change for homelessness?
The first thing that struck me just looking at that was when it was recorded, because it was obviously done pre-beard.
Yes.
Yes.
Draw a beard on my face there, I don't know why. But obviously, since the summer holidays, he's come back with hair at the
changed man.
Bottom half of his face, rather than the
yeah.
top half, if I can put it politely. But that was obviously recorded a little while ago. But yes, homelessness is, in this particular Home Woods project, is about William finding the solutions, not just to helping homelessness, but to, in his words, eradicate homelessness within 5 years. That's a big old target, you know. But there's 6 towns across the UK, including Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland as well, where they are trialling all sorts of different things. And this documentary has been following the sort of first year, if you like, of this project. And that was just a little teaser of an interview. I'm sure we'll get more as we get closer to.
He's looking very relaxed in this sort of sphere now. Do you feel like he's relaxing more into his public profile, especially when it comes to doing the telly stuff?
I think this is something that he feels incredibly, this is something he's incredibly passionate about. It was something his mother introduced him to when he was very young. And I think, yes, I think he probably is comfortable talking about it because he's so knowledgeable in the area of homelessness.
Remember, he did that famous sleepover on the streets of London, didn't he? With his private secretary and the boss of a shelter, wasn't it? He did it with, or Centrepoint? Yeah. Centrepoint.
And this 2-part series, as Chris says, it's followed him over the first year of Homewoods, his Homewoods project, and it will show kind of clips from Prince William, but it also talks to people that are facing homelessness or have lived experience of homelessness, and it'll be a 2-part documentary on ITV later this year. And I think, you know, for William, he not only wants to show it's possible to end homelessness and to raise awareness, but he also really wants to change perceptions around homelessness and also celebrate those that work in the sector.
Yeah, that's incredible. I look forward to watching it later on this year. Well, that's all we've got time for, but you guys have got to pack your winter clothes away and take out the summer clothes because you're off to Australia.
Have you checked the weather forecast in Australia?
I have actually,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
Is it warm?
Warmer than here.
Warmer than here.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to show
off. You want
off.
us to send you some pictures when we're there?
No, I don't want pictures. I just want you to bring me back trinkets.
In case you've forgotten what sunshine looks like.
I will block you on WhatsApp if you keep sending me pictures from Australia.
That's a challenge I will have to take you up on.
Oh, goodness me. Oh, joy. Well, look, that's it for now. Lizzie, we look forward to hearing from you both next week in Australia and then later in Samoa. But you can hear Talking Royals every week by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. And do have a look through the back catalogue, of course, where you've got a range of world topics. So you'll see you next week, me in the UK and these two in Australia.